Good afternoon. First of all, let me thank you for the possibility to present Polish achievements in climate policy in the recent years. Poland is pleased to take part in the multilateral assessment of the 5th biennial reports and to present updated information on our mitigation performance against emission targets. I would like to start by introducing information regarding Poland's participation in the work of the UNFCCC since 1994. The Republic of Poland has been a party to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and later on joined also other conventional legal instruments, as you can see in the slide. It shows that we have quite long practice in contributing to the efforts undertaken by the international community to mitigate climate change. The first period of the Kyoto Protocol, Poland fulfilled individually with additional surplus of GHG emissions reduction of 24% in relation to the base year 1988. As a member state of the European Union since 2004, Poland participates in the common fulfillment of 2020 GHG emission target. Firstly, I'm going to talk about economy-wide emission reduction target and progress towards achieving the 2020 target. Poland took the reduction obligations jointly with other EU member states. It didn't have an individual 2020 target. The EU 2020 economy-wide emission reduction target has been set as a 20% reduction target in relation to the year 1990. EU legislation divided emission sources into two main areas, the EU ETS and the so-called non-ETS or effort sharing decision, ESD, or effort sharing regulation, ESR. EU ETS is a capped trade system and covers large sources like energy generation, district heating and industrial plants. On the EU level, the EU ETS emission target was -21% in relation to 2005, without individual target for each member state. The emissions from non-ETS sectors include mainly transport, small combustion sources, agriculture and waste. On the EU level, the non-ETS emission target was -10% in relation to 2005. The target has been translated into emission limits for all the EU members, and Poland's obligation was to limit the emission increase in 2020 to 40% compared to 2005. Poland has performed the national ESD target with a small surplus, achieving 13.8% emission growth. Here we are jumping to targets for 2030. Structure of the targets is more or less the same as for 2020. The GHG emission reduction targets have been set to put the EU on track towards a low-carbon economy, as presented by the European Commission in the communication on a long-term vision for 2050. The initial EU-level target was to reduce GHG emissions by at least 40% by 2030 compared to 1990 and was further increased to 55%. Because of the increased target, EU ETS has been revised and ambition in the system was raised from 43% to 62%. Final ambition of the EU's effort sharing regulation is -40% reduction of emission in non-ETS by 2030 compared to 2005 levels. In non-ETS, the updated emission reduction targets for individual EU member states range from -10% to -50%, and the targets are distributed on the basis of the average GDP per capita. The target for Poland in non-ETS is -17.7%. Now I would like to move on to the next point of the presentation, showing progress in reducing greenhouse gases emission in Poland. Until 2023, Poland has reduced its emissions by over 39% compared to the base year 1988, and by 26% in relation to 1990. Approximated GHG emissions for 2023 is 353 million tons of CO2 equivalent, and the main GHG emitted in Poland is CO2 with the share of nearly 83% in national totals in 2022. The main source of emissions is energy production, responsible for almost 84% of total GHG emission in Poland. The downward trend in emissions since 1988 was effect of implementation of energy efficiency and other measures, as well as by technological shift. The transport is the only sector in our economy with constant growth in emissions. The major factor driving the increase of transport GHG emissions has been the significant growth in fuel consumptions triggered by dynamic development in both cargo and passenger road transport. In 2019, a drop was noted in GHG emissions by 5% comparing to previous year, with further decrease in emissions in 2020 by 4%, caused, among others, by decreased economic activity due to COVID pandemic. Then, in 2021, increase in GHG emissions was observed due to economic rebound followed by drop in emissions in 2022 and 2023, influenced, among others, by war in Ukraine and fuel market disruptions. You have just seen the progress made so far, and now I will tell you about projections. Poland's projected GHG emissions are reported in the draft National Energy and Climate Plan, cover two scenarios, with existing measures and the other one with additional measures. Difference in reduction levels between those two scenarios is a result of policies, especially those leading to energy efficiency improvements on all fields of the economy, and also those changing the energy mix. This graph shows you non-ETS GHG emissions and reduction target. Poland's GHG emission reduction target covers only the non-ETS emissions, so-called ESR, effort sharing regulation, and amount to minus 17.7% in 2030 in relation to 2005. ESR target for 2030 is accomplished within the scenario with additional measures included in the draft of the new NECP, where GHG emission reduction for 2005-2030 period achieved is 80.2%. The next two slides presents the key PAMs, indicating also some recent developments not covered by BR5. EU ETS is a major cross-cutting climate policy expected to deliver significant EU-wide GHG emission reductions. In Poland, about 550 installations are covered by the EU ETS, and also 6 aircraft operators. The system is responsible for about a half of GHG emissions in Poland. The National Energy and Climate Plan 2030 from 2090 defines the assumptions and objectives as well as policies and measures designed to implement the 5 dimensions of energy union, including, among others, decarbonization. Currently, work on the update of the NECP is ongoing. The updated document will determine how Poland plans to contribute to the implementation of the revised EU 2030 targets concerning GHG emissions, renewable energy sources, and energy efficiency. As energy is a key GHG emission source in Poland, policies addressing this sector are of key importance. Therefore, development of nuclear energy and wind offshore is ongoing. In energy use, our actions focus on improvement of energy efficiency. Several measures are key in this area, such as already mentioned: white certificates scheme, energy audits of big companies, thermal modernization tax relief, and many grants and loan programs. In the transport sector, our main measures focus on support for zero and low emission transport, including e-mobility, in line with the Clean Transport Package adopted in 2017. The measures in place cover grants, loans, programs, and tax reliefs, as well as support to development to collective and urban transport. Measures in the agriculture and LULUCF sectors relate, among others, to rational use of fertilizers, organic farming, promotion of the use of agricultural biogas, and rational management of farmland and forest land, as well as forest protection, aiming to augment the national forest cover to 32% by 2050. New measures result from the new EU Common Agricultural Policy and include, among others, eco-schemes, voluntary schemes of payments to farmers for the implementation of practices beneficial for the environment, climate, and animal welfare. Here, I would like to present some key climate change policies and measures. we decided to show you some investment schemes which are very successful in Poland. They are operated by National Fund for Environmental Protection and Water Management, which plays a significant role in providing support to climate protection projects concerning trees, clean transport, energy efficiency improvement, etc. 4 examples are presented in the slide to illustrate the scope and magnitude of support provided by National Fund programs. The Clean Air Priority Program launched in 2018 aims to improve energy efficiency and to reduce emissions from single-family residential buildings. It's a flagship program in Poland. Financial support covers the replacement of solid fuel fire furnaces, thermal modernization of residential buildings, and until now, almost 1 million applications for a total amount of over 34 billion zlotych were submitted. The next one, the Warm Flood Priority Program, launched in 2022, complement to the Clean Air Program, aims at improving air quality and reducing dust and greenhouse gas emissions by replacing heat sources and improving energy efficiency in premises located in multi-family residential buildings. The support, in form of grants, covers, among others, dismantling of inefficient solid fuels, heat sources, purchase and installation of heat sources for the purpose of heating hot water, or connecting a residential premises to an effective heat source in the building, as well as purchase and installation of windows and doors. Applications submitted so far cover an amount of about 750 million zlotych. The My Power Priority Program, launched in 2019, aims to increase electricity production at micro-photovoltaic installations in Poland. This is an instrument dedicated to supporting the development of prosumer energy generation, specifically the micro-photovoltaics installations. It provides for co-financing for the purchase and assembly of a photovoltaic installation with 2 to 10 kilowatts capacity, meeting the needs of existing residential buildings. Support can be also obtained for energy and heat storage. The 6th edition of the program was launched in September 2024 and met with huge interest. The entire program budget was allocated within 2 weeks. The My Wind Farm Priority Program, launched this year, aims to support development of prosumer energy in the area of micro wind farms. It provides co-financing for purchase and installation of wind micro-installations for the needs of residential buildings. Currently, the first call for application is underway. That brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.